My name is Grace. I am 63 years old. I have hair like silver moonlight and hands that remember hard work. I never expected my life to break into pieces in one afternoon. I never expected my son's wife, my daughter-in-law, Ada, to point at the door and tell me to move out. Not like that. Not without warning. It happened on a Tuesday. The sky was gray and the house smelled like old tea. I was sitting by the window, sewing a small tear in my favorite shawl. My son, Daniel, had gone to work early. Ada was in the kitchen, cleaning fast, making a face like she had swallowed a lemon. I had lived with them for 5 years. After my husband died, Daniel invited me to come and live with them. I said yes because my legs are not strong now and because I loved my son. Ada and I never became friends. We were polite. We shared the same roof. But a roof is not a heart. Sometimes she would ask me to wash the dishes the right way. Once she told me the pillows were not fluffed the modern way. Little things. Tiny needles. They pricked at me. I stayed quiet. I told myself to be patient. That day, she came into the sitting room holding a pile of papers. Her eyes were sharp. Her voice was sharp too. "Mom," she said, "you have to move out." The words were like someone dropping a kettle of cold water on my head. My hands stopped moving. The needle hung like a tiny flag between my fingers. "Move out," I said. "Why, Ada?" Her jaw tightened. "This house is ours. Daniel and I bought it. We did the work. We pay the bills. You are a guest. Please, my mother is coming next month and I do not have space. You will need to find somewhere else." She spoke like a judge reading a sentence. Her mouth did not soften. My stomach did not know what to do. I remembered the nights I had cooked soup for them when Daniel had fever. I remembered the wedding where I cried and arranged the flowers. I remembered the nights I sat by the doorway when Ada had nightmares. I had been part of their life. I tried to smile small. "Ada, please. I am old. I do not have much money. Where will I go?" She sat down, not offering an arm or a soft word. She put the papers on the table. They were not bills. They were lease papers. The address on the top made my chest hurt. "Mom," she said, "you can stay for a little while if you like. But you must plan. Start looking." She looked away as if she had finished saying something important. She did not look at me. That made me colder than the gray sky. My voice came out small. "For how long?" "For as long as it takes," she said. "But," and here she stopped and looked at me as if she had something sharp to throw, "you must not keep anything that is not yours in this house." Her last sentence hit something inside me. Not the body. Not the heart. Something old. Something hidden. I felt my palms sweat. I felt the small khaki box under my bed like a small animal that knew its name. I had been hiding it for 10 years. 10 long years. A secret lives heavy in the chest. I did not say anything. I wrapped the shawl tighter around my shoulders. Ada stood up and left the room without a touch. The door clicked like a lock. I wanted to cry. I wanted to shout. But the past taught me to sit quiet. The past taught me to hide things to keep the peace. The secret I carried was not small. It was a weight the size of a heart that will not stop beating. It was a something that, if it came out, would make the world spin and make people look at me with eyes that ask, "Why did you not tell us?" I went to my room and sat on the bed. The room smelled like soap and lavender. Under the bed, the khaki box lived like a sleeping thing. I had hidden it there the day after Daniel and Ada married. I told myself I would only look when I was strong. I told myself I would tell Daniel when the time was right. But time is a tricky friend. It does not always stay kind. My hands shook as I slipped my fingers under the bed. The box was warm with memory. I pulled it out and sat with it on my lap. The lid was taped. On top, in my thin writing, was the word, "Keep." For a moment, I wanted to rip the tape and open it. For a moment, I wanted to put the box into my pocket and walk away to the market, to the bus stop, to anywhere. Instead, I tucked the box back under the bed. Secrets like that are not opened when someone points a door in your face. I remember the reason I kept the box hidden. It was the same reason many old people keep things. Shame, fear, and love tangled like threads. Once long ago, I had loved a man who was not my husband. The town talked. I paid for every whisper. The box had letters, a small medal, a photograph of a different life. It had proof that years ago I had done something that would make my family change how they looked at me. I had hoped that time would erase the pain. Time did not. Now Ada stood at the doorway of my life and told me to move. She did not know about the box. She did not know the small fire of fear that lives inside me. The fear that if the box came out, Daniel would not only turn away from me but his world might break. I had thought about telling him. I had tried many times to begin the sentence, but then the words would fall out like old coins and roll into silence. I remember the morning Daniel first asked me about the house. He had smiled and said, "Mama, is everything all right? Are you getting along with Ada?" I had nodded and made tea. I had pretended that the secret was a small thing that would not matter. Now, as Ada's words burned in my ears, all the pretend made a long line of cracks. Later that day, the house felt smaller. I moved slowly in rooms that had once felt safe. I sat at the kitchen table and watched Ada from across the tiles. She hummed a song that was harsh and tidy. She called her mother on the phone with a bright voice. She planned the furniture. She measured things on the wall. With every measure, she made the space my bones had known into something I did not belong to. I tried to be brave. I told myself to look for a place to go. I opened a small workbook where I kept numbers and names, charity houses, old friends, and I wrote a number slowly. Each number felt like a step away from my son. That night, after Daniel had come home, he laughed like he always does when he smells my cooking. For a moment I thought the world might still be soft. Daniel walked into the sitting room and kissed my forehead. He held my hands and said, "Mama, are you okay?" I wanted to tell him everything. I wanted to put the box on the table and show him the photograph and the letters and say, "I am sorry." But Ada was in the kitchen. Daniel looked at me and smiled that sleepy, gentle smile. He did not know the storm that was waiting in the wings. Before I could find the words, Ada came into the sitting room with a bag. In it were two small boxes, lunch boxes, that she set on the table. She sat down like a queen. Then she looked at me with cold eyes and said, louder than before, "We talked, Daniel and I. You will need to find a new place to sleep. The spare room is ready. We will help you look. I will ask my mother to help too." Daniel looked surprised. His smile froze. He put his cup down too fast. For the first time I saw worry in his face, like a crack in a jar. He did not know what to do. He loved both of us. He had always been a bridge between the two worlds. Now the bridge shook. I felt my heart as if it were a bird caught in a net. "Daniel," I said, my voice small but sharp, "please do not let her send me away." He put a hand on my shoulder. "Mama," he said, "we will talk tomorrow. Ada is tired. Let us sleep now." He meant to calm. He meant to put a lid on the pot of guilt. But I knew the pot would steam tomorrow. Ada stood up. She gathered the lunch boxes and her keys. She walked to the door. As she opened it, she paused and looked at me one last time. Her face was strange. It was the face of a person who had decided something and did not want anyone to change her mind. Then she left. The house door closed with a sound like a judge's final knock. I sat very still. Under the bed, the khaki box waited. I felt the secret like a stone in my throat. I thought about pulling the tape. I thought about telling Daniel everything then and there. But the night was full of small hungry sounds. The refrigerator's hum, Daniel's slow breathing, the street far away. I did nothing. Some secrets get heavy until they break you. Some secrets get heavy until they break everything around you. I do not know which kind my secret is yet. But I know this. When I looked up that night, there was a soft knock at the front gate. It was a slow, strange knock. Not the sound of a neighbor. Not the sound of Daniel with his key. It was a different sound. The kind that wakes old memories and throws them into the room like a guest who will not leave. I held my breath. My hands were empty. The khaki box under my bed felt like an answer and a danger at the same time. I went to the window and peered through the curtain. The street outside was empty. No car lights. No figure. Just the gate and the dark. Then, very slowly, I heard a voice. A low voice that I did not expect to hear in that place. A voice from 10 years ago. A voice I thought I had buried. It said, "Grace? Are you there?" My heart stopped. If you like this story so far, please hit the like, subscribe, and the little bell icon so you don't miss the next episode. Tell me in the comments which part of the country you are watching from. I want to know who is with me. I froze by the window. That voice. That same calm, deep, unforgettable voice. A voice I had not heard in 10 long years. I wanted to believe my ears were playing tricks on me. Maybe it was the wind. Maybe it was a dream. But then it came again, clearer this time. "Grace, please open the gate." My knees almost gave way. I held the window frame so I wouldn't fall. My breath shook like a frightened child's. I looked behind me to make sure Daniel wasn't awake. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I stepped slowly toward the door. Each step felt like walking through heavy mud. My fingers trembled as I reached for the lock. I opened the door just slightly and peeked outside. There he was. Standing by the gate. Looking the same. Yet different. Older. But still carrying the same sadness in his eyes. The same eyes I once loved. His name was Kola. The man whose letters were inside the khaki box. The man I once cared for deeply. The man I should never have loved. The man who disappeared without goodbye. And the man who, if Daniel ever knew about, could destroy everything. My heart beat loudly in my ears as I stepped onto the veranda. "Kola," I whispered. "Why are you here? At this hour? After all these years?" He looked at me with eyes full of something heavy. Fear, regret, desperation. I could not tell. "Grace. I had nowhere else to go," he said softly. "I need your help. Please." My chest tightened. Help. Now. When my own world was falling apart. I wanted to push him away. I wanted to tell him to leave. But old feelings are tricky. They can hide for years and still know their way home. "Kola, you shouldn't be here," I said, voice shaking. "My son and his wife. They don't even want me in this house anymore." His eyebrows rose slightly. "They asked you to leave?" I nodded, feeling a sting behind my eyes. "They said I should start looking for a new place. Ada wants me gone." Kola took one slow step closer. "Then maybe it's time to tell the truth," he whispered. My heart leaped. "No. No. Kola. You don't understand. If Daniel finds out about us, about the letters, about everything." My voice broke. "I can't lose my son." He looked away, breathing deeply. "Grace, something has happened. I didn't just come here because I missed you. I came because I'm in trouble. Serious trouble." My stomach twisted. "What kind of trouble?" I whispered. Before he could answer, a loud, sharp noise banged from inside the house. Bam! My heart jumped. The sound came from the hallway. Someone had dropped something. Or knocked something over. I held my breath. "Kola, go behind the mango tree," I whispered urgently. "Quick." He nodded and rushed into the shadows. I stepped back inside the house, closing the door slowly, quietly, praying no one had seen him. The hallway lights were still off. The house was still. But something felt wrong. I walked carefully toward the sound. My fingers slid along the wall, searching for balance. When I reached the spot, I gasped softly. The picture frame of Daniel, Ada, and me, the one from our last Christmas, had fallen to the floor. Shattered. Glass everywhere. The smiling faces were cracked right down the middle. A bad sign. A strange sign. A sign that felt too close to the truth. As I bent down to pick up the pieces, I felt something else. A presence. Someone was standing behind me. I turned slowly. And there, at the end of the hallway, stood Ada, wearing her nightgown, her eyes sharp and cold, watching me. My breath caught. "Why are you outside at this hour?" she asked, her voice low and suspicious. "And who were you talking to?" My heart slammed against my ribs. My throat tightened. Words refused to come out. She narrowed her eyes. "Grace," she said slowly, "open your hands." My hands were shaking. And suddenly I realized. I was still holding a small piece of folded paper. A note. A note from the khaki box. A note from Cola. And Ada had seen it. The fear in my chest exploded. Her voice sharpened. "What is that in your hand?" I stepped back. My mind raced. The secret I had held for 10 years was now sitting in my palm. In plain sight. And Ada was not going to let it go. Ada's voice cut through the hallway like a knife. I said, "What is that in your hand?" Her eyes were sharp, suspicious, and burning with a kind of anger I had never seen before. The shattered glass at my feet glittered like tiny traps. My heart raced so fast I thought it might burst through my chest. I closed my fist slowly around the paper. "It's nothing," I said softly. "Just don't lie to me," she snapped. "I heard you talking to someone outside." "Who was it?" A shiver ran down my spine. If she knew Cola was outside. If she knew the truth about the letters. If she opened that box under my bed. Everything would explode. I forced a smile, a weak, trembling smile. I wasn't talking to anyone. I just stepped out to get some air. Ada crossed her arms. Her eyes did not blink. "So you're telling me I imagined a whole conversation," she said slowly. My mouth opened but no sound came. She muttered. "Grace. I don't like secrets in my house." Her house. She always said it like that. Like I was a visitor who had overstayed. She stepped closer. "Open your hand." My throat tightened. "Ada, please. Open your hand now." Her shout echoed through the hallway, loud enough that Daniel might hear. I panicked and quickly slipped the folded paper into my pocket. She gasped. "Did you just hide something from me?" "No," I said, breathing hard. "Please, Ada, I don't want any trouble." She stared at my pocket for a long, heavy moment. Then, very slowly, she smiled. But it wasn't a warm smile. It was cold. Calculated. "Grace," she said, tilting her head. "If you're hiding something, I'll find it. You know that, right?" Before I could answer, a door opened behind us. Daniel stepped out of the bedroom, rubbing his eyes. "Mama? Ada. What's going on? Why are you two awake?" Ada immediately changed her voice. Soft, gentle, innocent. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, walking to him. "Your mom dropped a frame and woke me up. I was just helping her clean it." I wanted to shout the truth. I wanted to scream that she was lying. But fear held my tongue. Daniel yawned and came toward us. "Is everything okay?" "Yes," I said quickly. "Everything is fine. I'm sorry I woke you." Ada smiled sweetly and hugged him from behind, but her eyes stayed on me. Like a warning. Daniel looked at the broken picture. "Mama, be careful. You could have hurt yourself." Then he kissed my forehead softly. "Let's all go back to bed. We'll talk tomorrow." He headed back to the bedroom. Ada turned to follow him. But before she did, she leaned close to my ear and whispered, "I know you're hiding something. And I swear, I will find out what it is." Then she walked away. My hands were shaking. My legs felt weak. The house suddenly felt too small, too dangerous. I went back to my room and shut the door quietly. The air inside felt thick. I locked the door, then sat on the bed, breathing hard. My fingers pulled the folded paper from my pocket. My eyes scanned the handwriting. It was Cola's handwriting. And the note wasn't old. It was new. The ink was fresh. The paper smelled like rain. I swallowed hard and opened it. The message was short. Grace, I didn't leave by choice. Your life is in danger. Please let me explain. My breath caught in my throat. Danger? What kind of danger? I looked out the window toward the mango tree, wondering if Cola was still hiding there. The darkness outside seemed deeper than before, like something was watching. I needed answers. But I also needed to protect my son. As I stood up and paced the room, my foot hit something under the bed. The khaki box. The secret box. I knelt and pulled it out slowly. My fingers hovered over the tape. For 10 years I had kept it closed. For 10 years I believed opening it would destroy everything. But now, the danger was no longer inside the box. It was outside. Waiting. Growing. When I finally peeled the tape halfway, I heard a soft sound outside my window. A footstep. I froze. Someone was standing outside my room. I could feel it. And then, a slow shadow moved past my window. Not Cola. Someone else. Someone I did not expect. Someone whispering my name. Grandma Grace. Open the door. But the voice wasn't Daniel's. And it wasn't a voice I recognized. My heart stopped. Who was outside my room? The voice outside my window was soft. Too soft. Like someone trying not to wake the whole house. Grandma Grace. Open the door. My skin turned cold. I do not have any grandchildren. So whose voice was that? I stepped back slowly, pressing my hand to my chest to calm my heartbeat. The curtain shook lightly from the night breeze, and the shadow outside moved again. This time closer to my window. Tap, tap, tap. 3 slow taps on the glass. I swallowed hard and forced myself to speak. Who are you? For a few seconds, there was silence. Then the voice returned, this time sounding a little cracked, like someone who had been crying. Grandma, please don't leave me again. My knees almost buckled. Again. Leave who? What child was calling me grandma? I wanted to scream for Daniel, but something stopped me. Something deep in my memory. A name. A face. A mistake I had buried long ago. Before I could think further, the door to my room clicked. I gasped and spun around. The door opened slowly, quietly, and Ada stepped inside. Her hair was messy, her eyes wide with something strange, fear mixed with suspicion. Why are you awake? She whispered sharply. And why is someone outside calling for you? She heard it. She heard the voice. I tried to speak, but only air came out. Ada walked toward the window with slow, careful steps. I reached out to stop her. Ada, wait. She ignored me and pulled the curtain open. The outside was empty. Completely empty. No child. No shadow. Not even movement. Just darkness. Ada turned toward me, her face pale. Grace, what is happening here? I don't know, I whispered. But even as I said it, my heart trembled, because a part of me did know. Or at least suspected. Ada walked back to me, folding her arms. You are hiding something. I felt it the first day you moved in. And now strange men are knocking at night, people are calling your name, and you're sneaking outside like a thief. Her eyes narrowed. I want the truth. My breath quickened. My hands tightened around the khaki box still on the bed. Ada's gaze dropped to it immediately. What is that? She asked. It's nothing. Grace. She took a step closer. You're lying again. Her voice grew sharp and dangerous. What's inside that box? Fear pressed against my ribs. Ada, please, don't touch it. She reached out anyway. I grabbed her wrist. She jerked back, shocked. You've never raised your voice or your hand at me, she whispered. This box must be important. Before I could stop her, she lunged toward it. She snatched it off the bed. No! I cried, reaching after her. She stepped away from me, hugging the box tightly. I'm taking this to Daniel. He deserves to know what you're hiding. My heart nearly stopped. Ada, please. Listen to me. But she was already heading toward the door. Then something unexpected happened. As she reached the doorway, she froze. Her entire body stiffened like she had hit an invisible wall. Her eyes widened slowly, not in anger now, but in fear. Grace, she whispered. Someone is standing in the hallway. I felt my blood turn to ice. We both turned our heads slightly, slowly, toward the dark hallway. And there, just at the edge of the shadows, stood a small figure. A child. Barefoot. Head lowered. Hands hanging by the sides. Ada clutched the box tighter. Who is that? Daniel's not awake. But before she could finish, the child lifted its head. And I saw the face. A face I knew. A face I hadn't seen in 10 years. A face that could not be here. I staggered backward and covered my mouth. No, I whispered. This is impossible. Ada looked at me, terrified. Grace, who is that child? My chest tightened painfully. Because the child standing there, the child who stared at us with wide, trembling eyes, was the same child from a photograph inside the khaki box. A child I once cared for. A child I once lost. A child the world believed was. I couldn't breathe. The child opened their mouth and spoke softly. Grandma, why did you leave me? The box slipped from Ada's hands and hit the floor. And just like that, everything I had buried for 10 long years began to crawl back to life. Ada stumbled backward as the khaki box hit the floor, the tape snapping open. Papers, old letters, and one small faded photograph slid across the tiles. But neither of us moved. Because the child who should not exist in this house, the child from 10 years ago, was standing right there in the hallway, barefoot, silent, staring straight at me. Ada's breath turned shaky. Grace, this is not funny. Who is that? My mouth trembled. My hands shook so badly I had to hold the wall. I whispered the name I had buried deep, a name I had sworn never to speak again. Toby. The child blinked slowly, like hearing the name hurt. Ada gasped. You know this child. I wanted to explain. I wanted to confess. I wanted to say the truth that had followed me like a shadow for a decade. But my voice wouldn't come. Toby stepped closer. And for the first time, Ada saw what I was seeing. His clothes were dirty, torn. His skin looked pale, almost grayish. His eyes looked tired, the eyes of someone who had walked too long in darkness. Ada whispered, Grace, is he sick? He looks. But she didn't finish. Because Toby lifted his small hand and pointed directly at me. You left me, he said, his voice trembling. You promised you wouldn't leave. But you did. Tears spilled down my cheeks. I didn't leave you, I whispered. I searched for you for months. They told me you were. I stopped. My heart clenched painfully. Ada spun toward me. What do you mean, searched? Grace, what are you saying? Who is this boy? I wiped my tears, but they kept coming. Toby was my late husband's sister's son, I said softly. I raised him for a short time. His mother died young. His father abandoned him. He was only 5. Social services came one morning and took him away after after a misunderstanding in the neighborhood. They said a relative had come for him. But when I tried to find him, I looked at Toby again. They told me he had died. Ada's mouth fell open. She stared at me like I had been living a whole extra life she never knew. You never told us, she whispered. How could I? I said, voice shaking. I thought it was my fault. I thought people would say I wasn't careful enough. The shame. It ate me alive. Ada looked from me, to the boy, to the open khaki box on the floor. Then she whispered something I didn't expect. Grace, if he died, then how is he standing here? My stomach twisted. Because that was the question I had been trying not to ask myself. Toby stepped fully out of the shadows now. His face clearer. His small hands trembling. Grandma, he said quietly, I didn't die. The hallway fell silent. The kind of silence that squeezes your chest. Finally, Ada managed to speak. Then where have you been? Who took you? Why appear now? In the middle of the night. Toby looked at her, then at me. He opened his mouth to speak, but the front door suddenly rattled violently. Bang! 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 All three of us jumped. Ada grabbed my arm. What was that? Another set of bangs. Louder this time. Like someone was trying to break the door down. Toby's face suddenly filled with fear. He grabbed my hand tightly. Grandma, don't open the door. It's him. He followed me. My breath caught. Who? Ada cried. Who followed you? Toby shook his head, eyes wide with terror. He wants the letters. He wants what's in the box. And if he finds me here. Bang! 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 The door shook again. My heart pounded so hard I could barely think. Ada panicked. Grace, should I call Daniel? Should I call the police? I grabbed her wrist. No, not yet. Because I had a terrible idea who might be outside. A man who had disappeared for 10 years. A man whose handwriting filled the letters inside my box. A man named Cola. I backed away slowly from the hallway as the door rattled harder and harder. Toby clung to my dress, trembling. Ada whispered, Grace, tell me the truth. Is he dangerous? I looked at her with fear in my eyes. Fear I hadn't felt in years. Yes, I whispered. And just then, the door handle turned. Slowly, deliberately. The lock clicked. Someone was entering. The lock clicked. Once. Twice. Slowly, as if the person on the other side wanted us to feel every second of fear. Ada grabbed my hand. Her palm was cold, shaking. Toby pressed against my side, breathing fast and shallow. My heart hammered so loudly I could hear it in my ears. The front door creaked open. Just an inch. A cold wind swept into the house. Then a low, rough voice drifted in. Grace, we need to talk. Ada gasped. It is him, she whispered. I pulled Toby behind me, shielding him. Cola, I said with a trembling voice. This is not the time. You shouldn't be here. The door pushed open wider. And there he stood. Cola. Older, thinner, tired-looking, but unmistakably him. His eyes were sharp, searching, landing on Toby, then flicking back to me. Grace, he said softly, you didn't tell me he was back. Toby whimpered and clutched my dress tighter. Ada looked from one face to another, confused and terrified. Someone explain to me what is going on. Cola stepped fully inside and closed the door behind him. He locked it, slowly. A shiver ran through me. Cola, I whispered, don't come closer. He lifted his hands. I'm not here to hurt you, Grace. But I need that box. And I need the boy. Ada's eyes widened. The boy. Why? Toby's voice trembled. Grandma, don't let him take me. Cola shook his head. Toby, listen. I'm not your enemy. But his voice carried something dark, something that made my knees weak. Ada moved beside the wall phone. "I'm calling Daniel," she said. "This is too much." "No." Cola barked suddenly. She froze. Even I flinched. Cola lowered his voice again. "No police. No calls. If anyone finds out what's inside that box, we're all finished." Ada stared at me. "Grace, what is in that box?" My chest tightened painfully. Old memories, ones I had locked away, began to rise. I didn't want to speak. I didn't want to remember. But silence was no longer safe. The truth was clawing its way out. "Cola," I said, swallowing hard. "Tell me why you want Toby. And why now, after 10 years? His jaw tightened. "I didn't stop looking for him, Grace. Not once. You think I left because I wanted to? They took him from me too." He took a small step forward. "I found your letters, buried in an office file. They had lied to both of us. They said Toby had died because they didn't want us to keep looking. Someone else claimed him. Someone dangerous." My blood froze. "Who?" I whispered. Cola looked toward the open hallway, as if expecting someone to jump out of the shadows. Finally he spoke. "A man named Chief Adewale." Ada gasped. "The businessman? The one always on the news?" Cola nodded grimly. "He wanted Toby for a reason. Something about the boy's birth. Something about a secret that would ruin him if it ever came out." I felt my heart flip. "What secret?" I whispered. Cola hesitated. Then he met my eyes. "Grace, Toby is his son." The world tilted. I reached for the wall to steady myself. Ada covered her mouth in shock. Toby blinked up at me, eyes full of confusion and fear. "That's impossible," I whispered. Cola shook his head. "I saw the documents myself." My breath stuttered out of my lungs. "Then why did he abandon him?" Ada asked. Cola's face hardened. "Because the father refused to acknowledge him publicly. His reputation was everything. When Toby's mother died, he paid someone to make the child disappear, permanently." Ada choked on her breath. "That's monstrous." I stared at Toby, little trembling Toby, and my eyes blurred with tears. "Then why is he back now?" I whispered. Cola glanced toward the door. "Because the chief realized something. Something that connects the boy to your family. Something hidden inside that box." I looked down at the papers spilled on the floor. The letters. The old photograph. The birth record. Pieces of a truth I wasn't ready to face. Cola continued. "He found out Toby is alive. And he will do anything to hide the evidence." Toby tightened his grip on my hand. "Grandma, is he coming for me?" My voice trembled. "I won't let anyone take you, my child." Ada stepped forward suddenly, her fear turning into anger. "Grace, why didn't you tell us any of this? We could have helped you." I shook my head, tears falling. I thought it was over. I thought Toby was gone forever. I didn't want the past to destroy my son's life. I was trying to protect everyone. Cola lifted his chin. "Well, the past is here now. And we don't have much time." He walked toward the window and peeked outside. And then he said the words that made the room fall silent. "He's here." Ada's breath caught. "Who's here?" Cola turned to us, his face pale. "Chief Adewale's men. They followed Toby. They followed me. They know he's in this house." Right at that moment. Flash. Bright lights shined through the window. Headlights. Multiple headlights. A car door slammed outside. Heavy footsteps approached the house. Toby screamed and clung to me. Ada stepped backward in panic. Cola whispered urgently. "Grace, hide the boy. Now." And then, boom. Something heavy struck the front door. Once. Twice. 3 times. They were trying to break in. The front door shook violently. Boom, boom, boom. Each hit was stronger, louder, angrier. Ada covered her ears and screamed, "They're going to break the door." Toby clung to my waist, trembling so hard I could feel his fear traveling through my bones. Cola rushed toward us. "Grace, take him to your room. Hide him in the wardrobe. Go." But I couldn't move. My legs felt frozen to the floor. Everything around me blurred, the noise, the panic, the shadows stretching across the walls. Then the door shook again, so hard the hinges cried out. That was when my body finally woke up. I grabbed Toby's hand. "Come with me." We rushed down the hallway, my heart pounding like thunder in my chest. Behind us, voices shouted from outside. "Open this door now. We know you're inside." Not police voices. Not neighbors. Dangerous men. I threw open my bedroom door, pulled Toby inside, and locked it. The lock felt weak, like one push could rip it off. "Grandma," Toby whispered, eyes wide with terror. "Are they going to take me?" "No," I said firmly, though my voice shook. "I won't let them." I opened the wardrobe doors. Dusty clothes hung inside. Shawls, old dresses, sweaters Daniel had bought me years ago. "Toby, go in." He climbed inside, squeezing into the corner. His small hands gripped my arms. "Don't leave me, Grandma. Please." "I'm right here," I whispered. "I won't move." He nodded, trying to be brave, though tears streamed down his face. I closed the wardrobe door gently, leaving it slightly open so he could breathe. Then, crash. A loud sound echoed from the sitting room. They had broken in. Ada screamed. Daniel's voice rang out too. He had just woken up. "What is happening?" My heart stopped. "Oh God. Daniel." I squeezed the wardrobe handle tightly, praying. Then I heard heavy boots rushing through the house. Men shouting. Furniture falling. Ada crying. Daniel yelling. Cola trying to protect them. "Where is the boy?" "Search every room." They were coming. My room was at the end of the hallway. I could hear the footsteps getting closer. 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 Then, bang. A fist slammed against my door. "Open this door." I stayed silent. Bang. "Open it or we break it down." I stepped backward, my hands shaking uncontrollably. Inside the wardrobe, Toby whimpered. Another bang, this time harder. The door frame cracked. I covered my mouth to stop myself from screaming. Suddenly, a deep voice from the hallway barked. "Leave that room. Check the kitchen first." The men paused. Heavy footsteps moved away from my door. I nearly collapsed from relief. But then I heard Cola's voice. Loud, strained, desperate. "Don't come near them. They are innocent. Take me instead." A man shouted back. "We don't want you. We want the child." My stomach twisted painfully. Then came Daniel's voice, full of anger and confusion. "What child? What are you talking about?" "Someone tell me what." A slap cut him off. Ada screamed again. "Cola, stop trying to protect Grace. She knows something. She's hiding something." My heart dropped. Ada. She was panicking. She was scared. She was trying to protect herself and Daniel. But her words were pushing the danger toward me. The men rushed back down the hallway. This time they weren't knocking. They were going to break the door. Boom. The entire room shook. Boom. The wardrobe rattled. Toby whimpered again. "Grandma, I'm scared." I pressed my forehead against the wardrobe door. "It's okay, baby. Stay quiet. Stay hidden." Then, a voice boomed from outside the house. A deep, commanding voice. "Stop." The men froze. The entire house fell silent. Even the air felt different. Footsteps approached, slow, heavy, confident. Then a silhouette appeared in the corridor. A tall man in a dark suit. Broad shoulders. Cold eyes. Chief Adewale himself. The man who wanted Toby erased from existence. He stepped inside my room without knocking. Without fear. Without shame. His eyes scanned the room once. Then rested on me. "Grace," he said calmly. "We finally meet." I couldn't breathe. He adjusted his sleeve and looked around. "Where is the child?" I swallowed hard. "He's not here," I whispered. He stepped closer. Too close. "I don't like lies," he said softly. "Not after everything we've been through." I trembled. "What do you want?" I whispered. He leaned in, his voice icy. "To fix a mistake," he said. "A mistake that should have been buried 10 years ago." My heart thudded painfully. Slowly, very slowly. He reached for the wardrobe handle. My breath stopped. His fingers touched the metal. He began to pull it open. Then suddenly, "Adewale, stop." Everyone froze. Because standing in the doorway, bleeding from his forehead, breathing hard, was Daniel, my son, holding something in his hand. Something that made Chief Adewale's eyes widen. The khaki box. Daniel stood at the doorway, his chest rising and falling in sharp breaths. Blood trickled down the side of his forehead. His hand shook as he held up the khaki box, the very box I had hidden for 10 long years. Chief Adewale froze. His cold, confident expression cracked for the first time. "Put that down," he ordered. Daniel didn't move. His voice trembled, with anger, confusion, and betrayal. "Someone explain to me what is going on in my house." Ada ran to his side, tears on her cheeks. "Daniel, they broke in. They were looking for a child." Daniel looked at me, straight into my eyes, searching for truth. "Mama, what child? What is in this box?" My throat tightened. I opened my mouth, but no words came. Chief Adewale stepped forward, his tone dangerously calm. "That box belongs to me." Daniel pulled it closer to his chest. "No. This is my mother's. And you're going to tell me what you're doing here before I call the police." Adewale let out a low laugh, the kind that makes your skin crawl. "Police? Do you think anyone will believe you over me?" His men chuckled behind him. Kola, leaning weakly against the wall, glared at Adewale. "Your time is up, Adewale. The truth is coming out tonight." Adewale's eyes snapped toward him. "You should have stayed gone." Daniel looked between them, growing frustrated. "Kola, mama. Someone tell me what truth he's talking about." Before I could speak, Adewale pointed at the box. "Open it," he said. Daniel stepped back cautiously. "Why?" "Because," Adewale said, "what's inside will explain everything." My heart raced. The letters. The photograph. The birth records. All the secrets I had buried. Daniel slowly opened the box. The tape peeled back with a dry sound that echoed through the room. Inside lay a stack of letters, a worn-out photograph, an old birth certificate, and a tiny bracelet with the name, Toby, engraved. Daniel picked up the photograph. His eyes widened. It was me, holding a small boy. "Toby." "Mama," he whispered. Who is this child?" Tears filled my eyes. "My sister-in-law's son," I said softly. "I took care of him for a while. I loved him like my own." Daniel swallowed hard. "So why didn't you tell me?" "Because," I said, voice breaking, "I thought he was dead." A gasp escaped him. I continued. Social services came. They said a distant relative had claimed him. Later they told me he died at the hospital. I believed them. I cried for months. Daniel stared at me, hurt and confused. Adewale stepped forward. "And you never wondered who that relative was?" I looked at him, fear gripping me. "You." He nodded. Daniel's jaw clenched. You took this child? Why? Adewale's expression hardened. Because he is mine. The room spun. Daniel's mouth fell open. Yours? How? Adewale looked at the birth certificate. The mother was a woman I met before my marriage. When she became pregnant, my advisors insisted the child must never be connected to me. Too dangerous. Too damaging. Daniel clenched his fists. So you hid him? I paid someone to make the paperwork disappear, Adewale admitted. But Kola interfered. And then your mother found the boy. If she had kept him just one more week, everything would have collapsed. Kola spat blood on the floor. You wanted the child dead. Adewale shrugged coldly. He was a problem. My knees weakened. No child is a problem, I whispered. Adewale glanced at the wardrobe door, still slightly open. Toby, he said softly. Come out. My heart stopped. Inside, I heard Toby's breath hitch. No, I whispered. Leave him alone. Adewale smirked. You can't hide him. He belongs to me. Daniel stepped between him and the wardrobe. Over my dead body. Adewale's expression darkened. You don't understand. If this child speaks, if anyone finds out the truth, my entire empire collapses. He took a step forward. And I do not lose. Suddenly. Bam! The wardrobe door burst open. Toby stumbled out, crying, breathing hard, eyes full of pain and fear. Stop! He screamed. Everyone froze. Tears streamed down his cheeks. He pointed at Adewale. You hurt my mother. You hurt me. You left me alone in that place. And you want to take me again. His voice cracked. I'm not going with you. Adewale's expression shifted from anger to shock to something colder than ice. That's not your choice. He reached into his pocket, pulled out something metallic. A gun. Ada screamed. Daniel lunged forward. Kola staggered, trying to stand. I ran toward Toby. Adewale raised the gun. But before he could pull the trigger, boom! The front door flew open again. Floodlights exploded into the room. Men in tactical uniforms stormed the house. Police. Drop your weapon. Chief Adewale's eyes widened. No, who called you? And then a voice rang out from behind the officers. Calm. Firm. Strong. I did. We all turned. Standing there, holding a badge, was a woman. Tall. Serious. Eyes sharp as knives. She looked straight at me and said, Grace, we know the truth now. And we're here to protect you. Before I could ask who she was, she stepped forward into the light. And my heart nearly stopped. Because the woman had my face. My exact face. Just younger. Daniel gasped. Ada screamed. Kola staggered backward. Adewale dropped the gun. And I whispered the one name I thought I'd never say again. Miriam. My daughter. The daughter I thought I lost 40 years ago. Standing right in my doorway. Alive. For a moment, the entire world froze. My breath caught in my throat. My knees weakened. I felt the room spinning as I stared at her, the woman with my eyes, my face, my jawline. Miriam, I whispered again, barely able to speak. She stepped forward, her voice steady, strong, but her hands trembled. Mother, she said softly. It's really me. I felt something inside me break open, 40 years of grief, regret, and longing crashing over me like a wave. My legs gave out, and I dropped to my knees. Miriam, my child, you're alive? She rushed forward and knelt in front of me, grabbing my hands. Yes, Mama. I'm alive. And I've been looking for you for so long. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I touched her face. Warm, real, alive. But they told me you died, I whispered. They told me you never made it out of the hospital. I buried an empty box because they said there was nothing left to bring home. Miriam shook her head, tears running down her face too. They lied to you. I was taken, adopted illegally, hidden. They erased everything. My name, my birthplace, even my birth record. She swallowed hard. But one day, I found a document, a small detail, your signature. The same way you write the letter G. That was when I started searching. I held her hands against my cheek, sobbing. My baby girl. Behind us, chaos continued. Police officers pinned Adewale's men to the floor. Handcuffs clicked. Orders were shouted. Toby cried and ran straight into Miriam's arms. She hugged him tightly. Mama Miriam, he sobbed. I told you I would find Grandma. My eyes widened. You knew about him? I asked. Miriam nodded and wiped Toby's tears. He was the first case I reopened when I joined the bureau. The inconsistencies in his disappearance. I knew something was wrong. And when I found the connection to your name, everything made sense. She turned and glared at Chief Adewale, who was being handcuffed, defeated. I've been building a case against him for years, she said. Kidnapping. Illegal adoption. Fraud. Threats. He thought he was untouchable. Adewale spat on the ground. You think this changes anything? I built this country. I made kings and governors. No one crosses me and survives. Miriam stood, her jaw tight. You crossed one person you shouldn't have, she said. And who is that? Adewale growled. Miriam pointed at me. My mother. Adewale's eyes flicked to me, full of fury and disbelief. And fear. Police dragged him toward the door. You haven't won, he shouted. You have no proof. Miriam held up her badge calmly. We have the letters you wrote to the adoption agents. The payment receipts you thought you burned. The files your secretary leaked. And, she looked down at Toby, we have the child you tried to erase. Adewale stiffened as the officers pulled him outside. You will regret this, Miriam, he spat. She stepped closer and said calmly, no, you will. The officers shoved him into a waiting van. Silence filled the house again. Ada collapsed onto a chair, crying from shock and relief. Daniel pressed his hand to his bandaged head, still trying to understand the whirlwind around him. Finally, he looked at me. Mama, he said softly, voice shaking, you had another daughter. All this time? I nodded slowly. I lost her when she was barely a week old. I broke every day since then. But I never imagined she was alive. Growing, searching for me. Daniel looked at Miriam, then back at me. Why didn't you ever tell me? My voice cracked. I couldn't, Daniel. The pain was too heavy. I didn't want you to grow up in my grief. I tried to be strong for you. Daniel pulled me into a hug. Mama. I'm so sorry you carried all that alone. We stayed like that for a moment. Then Miriam cleared her throat softly. There's something else you need to know, she said. We all turned. Her expression changed. No longer relief. No longer joy. Now she looked troubled. We didn't just come here to arrest Adewale. My heart skipped. What do you mean? Miriam stepped forward. Toby didn't just escape. He didn't just show up tonight. She took a breath. He ran away from a house where someone was supposed to be protecting him. A guardian appointed by the state. I frowned. But he came to me. Why? Miriam looked into my eyes. Because he saw your letters, the ones you wrote to social services after he was taken. Someone in the system kept them all these years. One of the workers gave him the box and said, find the woman who fought for you. My heart shattered again. I fought for him every day, I whispered. I know, Miriam said. Daniel rubbed his forehead. But how did Toby know where we live? Miriam hesitated. Then she said, "Because I gave him the address." Silence. Ada frowned. "Why would you send a child alone at night to a place under threat?" Miriam looked down. "I didn't know hired men were watching him. I didn't know Adewale already suspected he survived. If I had known." She shook her head painfully. Daniel stood up straighter. "What happens now?" Miriam looked at Toby, then at me, then at the open box on the floor with the scattered pieces of my past. "A lot is going to change," she said softly. "For all of us." She helped me to my feet and held my hand tightly. "But before anything else, Mama, I need to ask you something." Her eyes glistened. "Why did you write those letters? Why did you fight so hard for a child who wasn't yours?" The question stung. It was gentle, but sharp. I breathed in slowly, deeply, gathering the courage I had avoided for 10 years. "I fought for him," I whispered, "because Toby is mine." The room fell silent. Miriam stared. Daniel blinked. Ada gasped. Cola covered his mouth. Toby looked up at me with wide, trembling eyes. I placed my shaking hand on his head. "He is my grandson." Everyone froze. And I knew. The biggest secret of all had finally come out. The room went silent, as if the world itself stopped breathing. Daniel's mouth dropped open. Ada covered her lips with both hands. Cola froze in place. And Miriam, my daughter, stared at me with eyes full of shock and questions she was afraid to ask. Toby blinked at me, his small voice shaking. "Grandma, I'm your grandson." I knelt beside him, cupping his face gently. "Yes, my child," I whispered. "You are my blood, my own flesh." I didn't know until it was too late. And when I found out, they told me you were gone. Toby threw his arms around my neck, sobbing into my shoulder. "I looked for you," he cried. "Every night I prayed I would find you." I held him tightly, my tears falling into his hair. "You found me now," I whispered. "And I will never leave you again." Miriam swallowed hard. "Mother, how? Why didn't you tell anyone?" I gently pulled Toby closer and sat back on the edge of the bed, my heart heavy with memories I had locked away. "Toby's mother," I said softly, "was your sister." Miriam's eyes widened. "Sister? But I grew up alone." "You had a younger sister," I said gently. "Born 3 years after you disappeared. She was troubled, lost, running from pain she never understood. She got mixed up with the wrong people, and she had Toby when she was still very young." My voice trembled. "She died in childbirth. And she named the baby after the only person she ever said she trusted." I looked down, tears falling. "She named him after you, Miriam." A soft gasp escaped her lips. "Toby, short for Tobaloba, the middle name I used to have in my file." I nodded. "I wanted to raise him. I wanted to love him. But the world took him from me, just like it took you." Miriam placed a hand over her heart. "All this time, I never knew I still had family." Daniel came closer, kneeling beside me. "Mama, I had a sister? Another whole part of our family? Why didn't you tell us?" "I was protecting you," I said, voice cracking. "I didn't want the wounds of the past to swallow your future." He put his arm around my shoulders. "Mama, family secrets don't heal us. They destroy us." I looked down, ashamed. "I know that now." Miriam stood, straightening her uniform. "I need to take a statement," she said. "Everything must go on record, for Toby's safety, and for your protection, Mama." Before I could respond, Daniel stood and faced her. "So, what happens next? Will you take Toby away from us again?" Miriam shook her head. "No, never again." Toby looked up hopefully. "I can stay with Grandma?" Miriam smiled, a soft, painful smile. "You deserve a real home, Toby. And from what I've seen tonight, this is where you belong. Relief washed over me in warm waves. But then Miriam continued. However, Mama, you and Daniel must be prepared. Adewale will fight back. His lawyers will twist this story. He will claim you kidnapped the child, that you lied, that you hid him. He will turn everything upside down. Ada stepped forward. But the police saw him with a weapon. He broke into our home. Miriam nodded. Yes. That alone will keep him locked tonight. But for the case to stand, we need evidence. Every letter, every detail. She lifted the khaki box. This box is our strongest weapon. The police officers finished gathering evidence. The lights dimmed. The house finally grew quiet. Ada and Daniel sat together, fingers intertwined, still shaken but united. Kola sat against the wall, exhausted but alive. He gave me a tired smile. I told you the truth needed to come out someday. I nodded, wiping tears. And I was afraid of it. You were protecting your family, he said softly. Now your family is bigger than you ever believed. I looked at Miriam and Toby, standing side by side. My daughter. My grandson. The two souls I thought I lost to the darkness of the world. Now standing in my living room. I felt a storm inside me, relief, fear, joy, guilt, all mixing like rain on the window. Miriam broke the silence. I want to stay with you for a while, Mama. I've missed too much already. My heart nearly burst. Daniel smiled weakly. Welcome home, sister. Ada stepped forward, trembling but sincere, and hugged Miriam. Toby climbed onto my lap and buried his face in my chest. For the first time in many years, I felt whole. But just when peace seemed to settle, Miriam's phone buzzed sharply. She checked the screen. Her face fell. What is it? Daniel asked. Miriam slowly lifted her eyes. The chief escaped custody. My blood turned cold. Ada gasped. What? Kola cursed under his breath. Daniel stood tall, fists clenched. I pressed Toby closer to me. Miriam's voice was steady but heavy. He's coming back for the boy. A chill swept through the room. The nightmare wasn't over. Not yet. If this story touched your heart, please don't leave without supporting this channel. Thumbs up, hit the like button to keep these powerful stories alive. Bell, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Speech balloon, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what part of the story shocked you the most. Red heart, your support helps us tell more stories that heal, inspire, and open the eyes of the world.